The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, race fans, Ryan Aho here, the Bert Lehman, Coach Kraus in the house. A week off, we're back at it. Sorry, everyone, but sometimes you got to take a little vacation. So that's what we had to do. Went down to see the parents. But how are you guys doing? Bert, how are things in eastern Wisconsin?
Things are going good. It's been in the 50s for most of the last several days. So we actually had a lot of rain. It's like April showers yesterday, and it's only March 4th yesterday. So, but no, things are going good.
Well, we're not trying to knock down any snow, right? So that's good. You're not trying to get rid of the frost. What is the first track, as far as you know? What's the first track to open up over in your area?
Well, I believe 141 and Shawano Speedway, they open up the middle of April, the Saturday in the middle of April. I don't think there's any. Beaver Dam might start a week before them. I'm not positive, but I heard a rumor today that Shawano may be having a practice on March 29th. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody sent me that in a text, so I need to confirm that first.
All right, there it is. Your homework assignment. Let us know, Coach Kraus. How are things going on in northwestern Minnesota?
Oh, the weather's nice. We're it's playoff hockey time, man. We're into the playoffs, so it's regular season is behind you. Now you're like I said, everybody's 0-0 right now, and that's a good thing. And we got 4 really good teams in our division. So we're getting ready in Rochester Friday, in Alexandria on Saturday, and hopefully not necessary on Sunday if we take care of business. So just getting ready for hockey season and enjoying the great weather.
All right. Are you guys pretty much healthy? You get your good players back? How are things looking there?
I got a couple forwards back anyway. I lost one of my better defensemen last game. I'll find out about him this week. I'll find out about another player tomorrow. But I did get a few guys back, so things are looking up. And like I said, we're the defending division playoff champions. So we got to defend our title and make sure we get back to the Fraser Cup.
You just got to tell them a bruise on the leg's a hell of a long ways from the heart, you candy ass. So let's get after it here. All right. Well, I was down south. I went down to see the parents. Before we get into that, because I did catch a race. I think I was the first one of the 3 of us to catch a race here this year. But a little shout out, Impact Health Sharing. So if you're out there right now, right, and you're paying for your own health care, you're paying too much. Maybe you don't have health care because you're not willing to pay what you know it's going to cost you. Or if you have employees, if you got business and you got to cover employees, man, I might be able to help you. I mean, families are coming in, guys, right around $600 a month to $650, somewhere in that range, with a $2,500 deductible for the whole household. You can go to literally any doctor you want. And so I can get a person a quick quote, get you the information you need, see if we can help you keep some of your hard-earned money in your pocket so you can spend it on a hell of a lot more fun things than health insurance. Spend it on, I don't know, race car stuff. That sounds a lot better. So with that said, disclaimer, as you saw, got a little twist to it. You guys haven't seen it yet, but everybody that's listening to the show just did. So the disclaimer part's taken care of. So I want to thank Mr. Billiam for handling our disclaimer for us. Thank him very much. But I went down to the Central Arizona Raceway, and I got some new apparel, guys. Kraus, I'm glad you're sitting down. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this. Bert will be okay with it. But for my boy Brad, I went to the dark side here. I got me some IMCA garb. 2023 IMCA modified national champion Chewbacca. Okay, Chaz Baca. I got some apparel from Chaz down there. Had a pretty cool conversation with him. But I went to the Central Arizona Raceway. Of course, that's where Don Shaw has the Ernie Mincy. Guys, I got there. My dad and I did. I want to say it was about 4:15. Races start at 6. Like, let's get there early. Let's mingle around. Ticket prices on the building, $20 for adults to get into the grandstands. I'm like, that is what it is, right? So we go to pay to get in. They charge us $10 a person. I'm like, what's weird, right? I'm like, it literally says right there, $20 per person. Guys, they do what's called a happy hour deal down there. I thought it was kind of neat. If they had a bunch of cars out front in front of the grandstands, and they're selling T-shirts, and the drivers were mingling and all that. But if you got there between 4 and 4:30, half price on tickets to get into the grandstands. So they do that to try to create some of that fan driver interaction. Thought it was kind of a neat deal. They had a pretty decent turnout for it, and they said, we make it up, right? We charge $20 to get in. We're a little higher than maybe some tracks are, but we make it up because if they come at 4:30, probably going to get something from the concession stand. So thought that was kind of a neat deal. Another thing they had is they had go-karts there. So if you're the diehard traditional race fan that's been going for a while that lacks patience, that was not for you. Okay, that you were going to have an absolute meltdown because it was a absolute chaos, right? Literally, we're talking little kids in go-karts. They're driving around the infield, driving up on the berm. There was a few of them that literally couldn't make a lap, right? It's like, oh my gosh. But a good chunk of the crowd actually got into it. So I'm like, that's interesting, right? Because I was kind of gauging, like, how are the fans feeling about this? Are they losing patience? There's a few people grumpy, but they were hooting and hollering, and they'd get the car going, and they were yard sailing each other. I mean, it literally reminded me of like Larry Lund, Jeff Krause shit. Okay. I mean, I'm talking pile driving each other. The crowd is going bonkers. So cool to get the kids involved. A lot of the racers had kids there. Had a good conversation with Chaz. So Krause, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I absolutely love it. 1, it's the dumbest shit as a racer I've ever seen. How much do you like the point average lineup system that WISSOTA has?
What am I? Am I a driver or what am I here? A fan?
You're a driver. You're a driver, not a promoter. You're a driver.
Here's the deal with the point average deal. I don't mind it at all. Okay, because I'd say probably
DNF every freaking night. Of course you like it now.
It's a fun, but here's the deal: when you're running. We run for track points at Viking. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want a DNF, and and Sauer and Miller and the guys I race against, we don't want to. So I know every single night when we're racing, we're starting 6th, 7th, or 8th, or so on. You know what I mean? You go run, like I said, you're going to run around. I ran against Tim Johnson for all those years. Well, Timmy was running for national points, and he was up. We were always starting in the 4th row, so I always knew where he was going to start. Yes, you're going to get your occasional guy that's going to, DNF and have to start up front. But for the most part, the guys that run national points and the fast guys are always starting in the 4th row. I know where they're going to start. I think the random draw deal, you know what? You show up to track and Shane Zabrowski pulls a 1 and you pull a 8 and you're instantly down in the dumps. You know what I mean? You just are. So there's different ways to look at it. I mean, I'm not a fan of just a draw redraw. I mean, where's the fun in that? You know what I mean? I get specials and I get stuff like that, but a regular night, let the crowd decide. I think, like I said, the fast cars start up front in WISSOTA Land. I think the fans don't like that. I think they want to see them start deeper. So we can argue and argue and argue. When it first came out, yeah, everybody hated it. Drivers hated it. I was like, what are we doing? But I don't think it's a horrible deal, to be honest with you.
I think if you're at a racetrack that's got one fast car in each class, it's better, right? You think back to Aberdeen, Brown County Speedway, Kent Arment at that time in the modified literally was unbeatable. Well, him starting up front would have been absolutely awful. But if you have a good field of cars, and there's 3, 4, 5 good race cars in each class, and they all start. I don't care if they all start in the first 3 rows or where they start, as long as they're together, it's good racing. What I hate about the point average lineup system is it destroys shit, right? I do not believe in rewarding the person that can't walk and chew gum and giving them the front row in every race. Okay. If they happen to draw it, so be it. If they have time trials and they were fast in time, great. But literally, like, dude, you spun out twice last week and wrecked half the field. Congratulations. You're on the front row tonight. Let's see how many people you can kill tonight, right? Well, if you think WISSOTA's bad, IMCA is 100 times worse. It ain't even close, because they do a point average deal in the freaking heat races. Bert, you go to Shawano Speedway, right? I would love for you to keep track this year, and that's a big track, so there's a little bit more room to move around, right, than maybe the bull rings. But I would love for you to keep track in the IMCA classes how many times somebody on the front row of the heat race destroys somebody that's starting deeper in the field, because they literally are not capable of making a lap all by themselves. Should they learn? Should they have equal opportunity? Great. Should they get rewarded? No. So they get point average lineup system, right, in the heat race. Top point guy, and they do a year-long point average. If you're the high point guy, you start last in the heat, and then they have an invert deal like the WISSOTA deal. Then you got to start in the back of the invert also. It's like, this is, I hate it. It was, I learned how to pass a lot of race cars because I started 12th many, many, many nights. And what's crazy about it is, let's say that back in the day, Kraus, you remember, if you had been rained out, I'd jump in the hauler and we'd chase racing, and I'd go to the next track like, I want to go race. I'm going to go race somewhere. I got a race car. I'm going to go race. If you haven't been to that track, right, let's say that Shawano, right, Bert, what's the next Saturday night track for like IMCA modifieds kind of around you guys? What else races on Saturday?
141 Speedway is only hour and a half from Shawano.
Okay, so let's say that a Shawano guy, right, it rains out at Shawano, but 141, whatever reason, they're going to get it in, but they haven't been to 141 yet. They're literally going to drive to 141 and automatically have to start last in the heat, and they automatically get the last invert spot. In WISSOTA, you at least get to draw between 5th and whatever the last invert spot is. You can't start in the front 2 rows, but you have an opportunity that you don't have to start behind all the fast guys. I mean, I hate it. I talked to Chaz Baca. He's like, it is absolutely the dumbest thing ever, right? Because and there's no points in the heat there either, like there's in the WISSOTA. So you just got to get into the invert. He goes, man, we've wrecked many, many times because that guy in the front row, you really got to learn how to watch ahead, but sometimes you just can't control it. So WISSOTA drivers, where I'm going with that is, if you are upset about the point average lineup system in WISSOTA, you have it better than the drivers in IMCA. Okay, so IMCA, the grass ain't always greener. So I'm just gonna point that out. The other thing, as far as points going, I'm gonna get your guys' take on this one. In WISSOTA, they take for most classes. There's a couple different classes, but we'll use super stocks. Your best 30 shows is what they take. Okay. In IMCA, they take your best 25 of your first 50. So there's 2 sides to this, right? One side is that driver, like me back in the day, or Dexton Cook or Sobraski, that races a ton more shows. They lose that advantage because it's your first 50. So part of that's better. But the flip side is, you take Wisconsin, right? They got, you take 141, some of these tracks, they got some pretty nifty shows, 10 grand to win, shows big specials. If you're getting kind of to the end, let's say you got 40 shows in, and all of a sudden there's a few specials around and you're battling for a national point, are you going to be like, I'm going to go ahead and skip some of these bigger shows because I can't take a chance at burning up my 50? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Understanding how that works, Carlos, or Bert, either one of you.
Well, for me, in eastern Wisconsin, every track pretty much is IMCA. So, all the drivers on this side of the state are used to it. I'm used to watching races that way. But yeah, there are times, at Shawano Speedway where, the defending track champion, doesn't even make the invert because, depending on track conditions and who's in your heat, they don't get into the invert for the feature. Now, Shawano Speedway usually doesn't have enough cars for a consi, so it just means starting in the back of the feature. But I mean, from a fan's perspective, you want to see racers pass. I mean, that they don't want to just see somebody in the front, take off and lead the whole thing. So there's two sides to it. I mean, I see where you're coming from as a driver. As a fan, it's nice watching racing action.
Would Jonathan Davenport even unload?
No.
he would not go for that. Kraus, your thoughts on either the lineup systems, we talked about that, but the points deal. Do you like Wasoda's way where it's just a straight your best 30, or do you the pros and cons, I guess? What's your thoughts on the way IMCA does it?
Yeah, I don't know. I never knew that. I don't like the fact that you're telling somebody how many nights they can race. It's not your car. It's not your money. It's not your fuel. It's not your tires, IMCA. If Ryan Aho wants to go out and run 98 shows, that's his choice. You know what I mean? And then you guys need to figure out what you want to do with the points then, if it's fair. Because and Ryan, you ran all those shows, but how many of your years came down to the last week? You know what I mean? I mean, you ran all those shows, but it still came down to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 points. So I don't like that you're going to limit guys, because in the IMCA season seems to be much, much longer. Guys can go down south. They can run anywhere. They can run their local tracks. They can put in a ton of shows. So, and like you said, now all of a sudden you're going to show up to a special and guys aren't going to be there because they've already hit their 50 shows. That's a tough thing too. So not big of a component with that. And touching base with Wasoda's got to get rid of that. If I show up to a new track for the first time, you get to draw 5 through 8. I mean, let them draw 1 through 8. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I know I've done. I'm not going to go there. I'm starting 5 through 8, and I know everybody's starting up front. I'm not going to go there. So now all of a sudden you're limited people from traveling and going on and spending. So they need to get rid of that. But that IMCA thing is special. This day and age is a little bit different with solar. There's not many guys that put in 50 shows. Back in the day, you didn't have 50 shows. You weren't even going to be sniffing the top 10 in national points. In the Midwest mods and the supers and the streeters, those guys always put a bunch of shows. So it's interesting that they do that. And, I don't follow IMCA. I don't follow the points. So I don't know if it's ever played out as it someone's had to stop racing or quit racing, but I just don't like, sanctioning, tell them now you can only run 50 shows. You can't run 51.
Yeah, no, I'm going to clarify this. You can run as many shows as you want, but
the points don't count. I get it, but you're going to get to 50. Why? You know what I mean? Now you're racing for money. I get that. The specials at the end of the year, but you're still limiting, during the season. There
might be strategy there, maybe, right? Let's say that you're racing against, whoever your competitor is. You got your 50 shows in, and you're locked, and they're trying to catch you. At that point, are you just like loading up and going to every race that person's at, trying to stop them from winning? I mean, so there might be strategy there too, but I don't like that you'd have to kind of pick and choose between, do I want to go to this special and maybe take a chance at not getting a win, or do I want to go to my regular race and get a win? It's interesting. Every series does it a little bit different, but I don't know. I think, sometimes people are like, oh, IMCA is better and this one's better. Well, they have their pros and they have their cons. So let's put it that way. Another interesting thing is, first of all, there was a ton of yellows. I mean, a crazy amount of yellows, but they at least, they had their shit together. Whoever the race director was, when the yellow came out, it was like, bam, they were instantly lined up and ready to go. So I was pretty impressed by that. But then they got the features in, they get to the IMCA, I think it's IMCA hobby stocks, would be like our peer stocks. and they're announcing, and all of a sudden they kind of delay, and the announcer's out on the racetrack. Like, we're all kind of looking around, and he's like, we're going to do something different. We're going to talk to the drivers, and nobody had a clue what the hell was going on. We're like, what is this guy doing? The drivers had no clue. And I mean, it was just awkward off the cuff, right? And turns out there was a driver in the stock car class that had a heart attack, and they were just trying to kind of delay, and the driver ended up being okay, thank God. So that was good, but they had to life flight him out of there. Scary deal. That deal came. But so hats off, I guess, on trying to get creative and do something during that time anyway. But it was kind of funny. And I don't know if you guys ever witnessed something like this. They get up to the guy starting in the third row, and the guy's like, how long is this break going to be? He's like, I'm not really sure. He goes, I got to piss. What? You got to, well, I don't know what he gets out of his car, right? They're lined up on the front straightaway, gets out of his car, goes through the fence, goes into the grandstands, goes to the bathroom, comes back out, gets back in his car, and now they're ready to go racing. I'm like, I don't know that I've seen that before. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I was hoping that guy was going to win because it would have been a hell of a victory lane interview, but pretty fun time down there in Casa Grande at the Central Arizona Raceway. Learned a little bit. Kind of cool to be able to see the reigning national champ race, who incidentally, guys, their race season down there is done like mid-April. They don't race during the summer at like any of his tracks because it's 120 degrees out. So he's like, I got to race a ton of shows early, and then I can dabble a little bit during the summer and got to travel and then maybe catch a couple at the end of the year. But I mean, it's totally a flip deal of what it is in northern Minnesota. So we got some questions from the viewers. First, guys, I want to give a shout out here to Hard Charger Performance Specialties. Brand new sponsor, Nick Hoff out in Sydney, Montana. 20 plus years of building race engines, any application, street stocks, modified, super stocks, late models, and everything in between, right? And he's built engines for me. I had success. I won with his engines underneath the hood. Also, if you're a crate guy, a Wissota crate guy, and you need your crate engine fixed, he's the guy to do that. Get a hold of him. And if you're out in the Sydney, Montana area, he's like the only dyno out there, the only dyno that you can schedule dyno time within like a 500-mile radius. So get a hold of Nick, 406-478-4437. That's Hard Charger Performance Specialties. So, guys, we got a question from Paul. This goes back. This was supposed to be for last week. We did not do a show. But from a couple weeks ago, you guys remember at Golden Isles, they had it was supposed to be 3 nights of racing, right? It was the high limit sprints and 604s night 1. Night 2 rained out. And then night 3, they had the high limits and the Lucas Oil late models and the 604s. Well, on Thursday night, Kyle Larson runs this deal. Right? And, I mean, you think Kyle Larson, kind of a big draw. So Thursday, he says this. First of all, he says, hey, guys, thanks for all you do. I've got a couple questions on the high limits. Thursday at Golden Isles, the grandstands were empty. There was nobody there. There couldn't have been 200 people in the grandstands. And he's spot on. He goes, there was a time that if Kyle Larson was going to be at the track, it didn't matter where it was. It was elbows to assholes. That place was jam-packed because Kyle Larson was in the house. A, are you shocked that there was nobody there regardless of Kyle Larson being there? And B, has he kind of lost a little bit of his pulling power, that marketing power of, oh, my God, Kyle Larson's there. We got to show up. Your guys' thoughts?
Well, I think the more something happens, the less of a attraction or novelty that it is. I mean, for example, the more Kyle Larson races in these dirt races, it's going to be less of a draw because it just happens more often. It's the old supply and demand. If he's out there racing more often, there's other opportunities to see him. And I mean, part of it is, there's only so much money, that disposable income that race fans have. And there's been a lot of racing over the last month and a half down in that part of the country. So, yeah, some fans might be able to go to a lot of racing, but fans have to kind of pick and choose what events they want to attend. And I mean, we're only in the beginning of March right now, so there's a whole race season yet to spend money.
Kraus?
Yeah, well, first off, that location's not a sprint car hotbed for as far as fans go. It just isn't. I think majority of the people, yeah, obviously late model stuff do well, but I think majority of people want to go see Kyle Larson. They're going to see him at Daytona. If they're going to see him anywhere, and then who knows? Maybe these sprint car fans, maybe they're upset with Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson. And they say, "Screw you, we don't want to go watch you," because majority of the sprint car fans right now are World of Outlaw sprint cars. It's the only sprint car series that's really been out there. Yeah, there's been All Stars and whatever you want to call those other series, but now you got it one head to head. Maybe there's some people going, I'm not going to go support you guys. You guys left the World Outlaws and left them hanging. So who knows? I wasn't surprised by it. I don't think the weather was the greatest. There's been a ton of racing going on down there. Maybe people are burnt out. I think it was just a multiple things, but who knows? Maybe there's some people upset with Larson, and maybe there has been last couple of years. That's all it has been is Kyle Larson. You know what I mean? And he's the best, probably most popular race car driver in the world right now. Maybe we can turn him on and watch him pretty much anytime, anywhere in a late model sprint car, or every Sunday you can turn on and watch him too. So it was interesting to note that, the crowd wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, for sure. And you're exactly right. I mean, I think you got to strike while the iron's hot. When something's like hitting, right, marketing wise, you better take advantage of it right now, because if you don't, and you take a guy like this that races every day that he can, Bert's spot on. I mean, sometimes less is more, right? Now, he had a statement here too. I don't know if this is a statement you guys can comment on it. Kind of a bold statement here by old Paul. He said, "What's your thoughts on Brad Sweet? He's kind of had the backup beeper on here so far this year. Maybe he started a new series and left Woo, so he has an excuse to not win his 6th straight World of Outlaw championship." Do you think David Gravel was coming?
What's that?
You think David Gravel had his number and he just left? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's no guarantee that he wouldn't have won the World of Outlaw championship this year, but I don't think that's why he left the World of Outlaws. I mean, I think this is their attempt to make some money, take some of the limelight away from World of Outlaws. I still think there is some sort of rift between Sweet and the Outlaws. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I don't think he left just because he thought he wasn't going to win the championship.
It's kind of a fun theory, though. Coach Kraus?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now why he's not winning, why he's not doing well, because he's not 100% all in and just the 49. He was with the World Outlaws. That was his only job. That's all he had to worry about, was putting that car in victory lane and winning championships. Right now, no, he's a promoter. He's worrying about sponsors. He's worrying about putting fans in the stands. He's worrying about lineups. He's worrying about this. He's worrying about that. His mindset is not there, and he's not 100% in tune focused with the 49 car winning. That's 100% what it is. And he's been the most dominant World of Outlaw sprint car guy the last how many years? You know what I mean? He has. It hasn't been Donnie Schatz. It hasn't been anybody else. It's been Brad Sweet. And right now, like I said, he's just got too much stuff going on. So he's got to get his mindset straight. He's fast. He'll start winning again. There's no doubt about it. But he just got too much stuff going on right now to win, every single night like he almost was in the World Outlaws.
Yeah, you and I can relate to that, right? I mean, we both, I kind of helped out in Hibbing on the board. You're running Viking Speedway, or one of the people running Viking. It takes a toll. There's no question about it. Uper Dan. We got Dan from up in Michigan here has one. What are some of the gains WISSOTA has made in 2024 as far as tracks, specials? Have you heard anything as far as losses, gains, as far as WISSOTA goes in 2024? Well, I do have a few, and you can add a couple in if there's something I missed. Let's start with the losses. And it's not like Wissota dropped the ball here and lost it. I don't think Greenbush is opening. Are they? I haven't heard anything. Greenbush, as far as I know, does not have a promoter. So I think they might be sitting idle as far as I know, unless something dramatic happens in the next week or two. Greenbush up in northern Minnesota, Cheyenne Speedway, they got a new promoter. They're going to go very limited, running just a handful of shows over there, primarily, I think, all under the IMCA banner. So they lost them. Now, one that they gained, and we talked about this, is Princeton. Princeton back to Wissota, full-fledged. And I talked to some people down there that are in the know in the Princeton area. There's a buzz down there. Their exact verbiage from a few of the drivers. Okay, Brad, same for me, although I probably agree. They said, glad we're getting rid of these junky IMCA cars and getting Wissota racing back to Princeton. Sorry, Bert. Okay, so they're pretty excited down in that area for the most part. Redwood Speedway in Redwood Falls. So the promoting group, there's a few of them, I don't know all the names, that run North Central. They also ran Princeton. They have taken over, and they're going to reopen Redwood Speedway, mostly IMCA, and they're also going to have Wissota Street Stocks on the card at Redwood Falls, Minnesota. New promoters. Okay, so Princeton, of course, new promoters there. Eagle Valley Speedway. I don't know the names of the owners, so I don't want to throw the names out. You can look it up on their page. But Jerry's World is no longer Jerry's World. Jerry Weigel, after having the Eagle Valley Speedway for a long time, right, has sold that place. That's under new ownership. And just this past week, the Rice Lake Speedway under new ownership as well. There's a promoter group, and I believe Colby Keel is part of that group. He's a racer. He's won a bunch of races over there. They're pretty fired up. And Kraus, you know how it is. You get a brand new promoter in there, they're jacked up, right? They're excited. So now is when they're renovating the place and they're doing all kinds of things because it's brand new. So if you're in any of these areas and you love racing, now is the time to get down to the track, talk to these promoters, see how you can help out, because now is the time where they're going to do the most stuff, because that kind of fizzles every single year just a little bit. So good luck to those tracks. New specials, Cedar Lake Speedway going to be hosting a Challenge Series event here for the first time in a very long time. And yeah, other than that, anything else that you can think of in the Wissota realm as far as tracks?
I think Dakota Speedway dropped street stocks, correct? Is that in Mandan? Is that the one where they're not running street stocks anymore?
Yeah, you're right. Dakota Speedway out in Mandan. You're right. Yeah, they dropped Wissota Streets and they're going to IMC stock cars in Mandan.
Yeah, and other than that, I think you pretty much covered anything. There's not a whole lot of specials are kind of same old. A few new tracks, obviously, like you said, with the Challenge Series. And stuff like that. But for the most part, street stock tours still going, Midwest Mod Rebel tours, still going, the Challenge Series going, the Northland Superstock Series schedule came out. That got finalized now too. So it's pretty much, the same old stuff. A lot of itchy fingers out there. Everybody, Viking going to open up early? Is this track going to open up early? Is that track going to open up early with the weather? Well, you don't know what it's going to do. And plus, we already have sponsors in place, schedules in place. You open up early, it changes your whole season just like that. So you stick with your schedule. And like I said, there's going to be enough tracks opening up in early April, obviously weather permitting. So, but yeah, bunch of, sounds like we talked about before, a lot of getting the board members that are active in Wissota now. I think they got a lot of good stuff going on, and hopefully we'll see what they do, excuse me, with these purses and, if there's extra money they're raising, it'd be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, and then he said, well, since Princeton jumped over to primarily Wissota, will North Central follow suit? And the answer is no, because that's the promoter group split. So that's a whole different group of people. The people running Princeton now, that's the Ogilvy Speedway promoter group. So they're kind of basically going to do the same thing that they're doing in Ogilvy. And the Brainerd group is going to Redwood Falls. So I don't think, as long as Cliff has that place, It doesn't sound like he's going back to Wissota. Bert, how about Eastern Wisconsin? I heard a little bit of buzz up there. There's a couple. What's new in Eastern Wisconsin as far as tracks? Anything you want to touch on there?
Well, all the tracks that were racing last year will be racing again this year. I haven't heard of any division changes or anything like that. They're I mean, we've talked about this on the show where, Dirt Kings has scheduled 3 races against Shawano Speedway on Saturday nights. Well, those 3 nights, Shawano Speedway has upped the late model purse for those 3 nights in an effort to keep some of their drivers racing at Shawano Speedway. So we'll see how that shakes out. And so...
Man, Jason, I hope you know what you're doing. That series has been good for a while, and you don't want to be stepping on the toes of the local tracks that have them. I mean, it's going to be. You're right, Bert. Maybe weather will help that out in one way or another, but it's not a good look. Gravity Park, looks like they're going to have 2 late model shows. I don't believe they're.
Yeah, you're right. I did see that, but yeah, they're not Dirt King shows. They're just two late model shows. And Plymouth Dirt Track is once again, they're having their Super 6 series for late models. Late models will be racing there 6 times this year. Each feature, I believe, is going to pay at least $1,500 to win. Soyber Calf Ranches jumped on board as a lead sponsor. And one of the races, Shawano has an increased late model purse, is also against one of the Super 6 late model races. And this became a discussion on the 2020 board. I can't find the discussion anymore, so I don't know if it was deleted or not. But and Brad Lipke chimed in. I mean, Brad no longer works at Shawano Speedway. He's not the promoter, marketing guy at Shawano Speedway anymore. And he made a good point in the discussion, because Dirt King scheduled 3 races against Shawano Speedway. The Plymouth track has 6 races scheduled against Shawano Speedway. So there's 9 races, 9 late model specials scheduled against Shawano Speedway. And Brad said, what's Shawano supposed to do? Just give the late models 9 weeks off? I mean, that's more than half the season, so they're trying to, I mean, even though Shawano doesn't get 20 late models, I still say the late models are a big draw for the fans that do come to the races. So, they have to kind of look out for themselves also.
I'm telling you, scheduling becomes a dumpster fire. I mean, especially when you have a few tracks that are close by, it is, Kraus knows, I mean, it is very difficult to kind of make that all work. So we'll see how it works here in 2024. Curtis sent one here. Did you guys happen to see the heat races for the late models this Sunday at Cherokee at the Southern All-Stars race?
I did not.
Yeah, weird. Nobody did.
Oh, okay.
Nobody did. Kraus, did you see what happened?
Yeah, no, I was watching. So I'm watching it. Okay. And I was watching all the heat races, the 9,844 classes that they had there. Okay, so I'm watching everything. And all of a sudden, I don't know what I was doing. I looked up, and that was Sunday, right? I don't know. I might have had the NASCAR race on too, so who knows what was going on. But all of a sudden, right on the screen, it says features up next. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. So I pulled up my race pass. I'm trying to figure, you guys haven't even ran heats yet. So then they just went right into the features, and supposedly, I guess you know what happens. I didn't know what happened at the time, but you had sent a text out. So you're going to have to fill everybody in what happened with that.
Evidently, a bunch of drivers were late to staging, right, for the late models. And they said, screw it. You guys don't want to get to staging on time? We're just not going to run heats. We're going to line up based on the time trial results, and that's how we're going to line up the feature, and that's what we're going to do. What? I've never heard of such a thing, right? So now, with that said, a couple nights before that at Waycross at the Schaefer Spring Nationals opener, that was the way it is. They don't even run heat races, right? And I saw that for some of their lower classes, but for the Spring Nationals race, it was time trials into the A main, right? And here they decided, screw it, we're going to do it that way. So the question I have here is, do they have it right? Okay, Bert, I know you're a traditionalist, a diehard fan, and you watch every race. I get it, right? But I watch way more on streaming now than I do in person. And quite honestly, I don't watch 98% of the time. If I'm watching streaming, I don't watch the heats. I just wait for the feature and I'll watch the A main. You know, with the cost of everything going up, right? You know, the cost of tires, the cost of fuel. Is there, I mean, the main event is the main event. That's what people are there to watch, is the main event. Is on nights like this, what's your thoughts of them just going time trials, A main, call it a day? What's your thoughts?
I wouldn't like it. I mean, I'm with you though with the streaming. I mean, I'm not going to sit through there and watch all the heat races on a streamed event most of the time. Sometimes I will. But if I go to the races in person, I want to see heat races. I want to get as much bang for my buck as I can if I'm going to be there in person.
Yeah, but you get 12 classes down there.
Well, I don't want 12 classes.
Kraus, would you rather 10 classes of cars, no heats? 3 classes of cars, heats and features?
Boy, I don't know. That's a tough one. 10 classes of cars. I'd rather see, I'd gas hot laps. If you want to qualify them and line them up and let her buck, I think that'd be the way to go. I think it'd be much more exciting. I think you'd keep fans maybe on the edge of their seats more. Obviously, you're not going to, you've got 10 classes of car, you're still going to sell concessions. You're still going to sell beer. So, but I think you're going to keep the fans way more entertained and way more ready to rock instead of falling asleep and going home, or heat races take forever and it's water truck races rather than heat races. So I think there's pros and cons there. Driver standpoint, I wouldn't mind it. You're going to save tires. You're going to save money. Those guys race professionally. They don't really care. But the thing is, I don't get about that. I didn't see anything on social media. I looked at Overton's account. I looked at Madden's account. I started looking at some of these drivers and none of them said anything. They just said, I finished third at Cherokee, or I did this fun night at Cherokee, whatever. So it was super weird what happened there. And I was looking at Cherokee's page. They didn't really make an announcement on it either. So it was super weird how they did that.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when the legendary 100 decided, hey, we're gonna on the prelim nights, we're gonna have time trials and we're gonna have qualifying features. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But I'm gonna be honest with you, most regular nights, right? There's 6-7 cars in a heat. They get strung out. They're just not entertaining. The feature's what I'm there to watch, right? I'd rather give them an extra 5 laps in each feature, not 50 like New Dan wants, right? Not 50, but give them 5 extra laps, 25 lap feature, 20 lap feature for the smaller classes. Get rid of the heats. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't be opposed to testing the waters with it and see how it worked out. But interesting. I mean, again, they do different things at different places, right? So let's jump into the top moments and stories of this past week, brought to you by our friend Brad Parson's Soil and Ag Solutions. So if you're over in Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, if you're in farming and you're looking, hey, 2024, planting season right around the corner, I want to be more profitable. Well, what does that take? That takes having the right stuff in your spray packages. It's worth a phone call to Brad, 320-219-3542. It's worth a phone call to get the data, get the information, try some of the stuff he has on a plot of your land to see for yourself if this is something that's going to help you out. why not let him see if he's going to help you be more successful by giving you better yields, equating in more money? That's Brad Parson, Soil and Ag Solutions. So number 5, Bert, we'll start with you. What do we got? Number 5, let's go to the south. Let's go to Florida.
We'll start with some IMCA action.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a week's worth of IMCA racing down in Florida, and there were several Wisconsin IMCA drivers who made the trip down there. Benji Lacrosse was one of them. We've talked about him a lot on the show. He had a pretty, not a great week. Midweek in one of the features, he actually rolled over. His girlfriend / wife posted on Facebook that posted pictures of it, and then later she posted, Benji said it was a soft roll. So then they posted pictures the next day of them putting the car back together, and then Saturday night he wound up finishing second in the final feature down in Florida, and so he was able to turn a bad thing into a good thing. Entering the final night, Brian Mullen was 9th in points for the week for the IMCA modifieds. I don't know where. I was trying to find the final points for the week, but I couldn't find them. So I don't know if he finished in the top 10 or not.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look. I have a picture when I'm doing the show on the phone, so I won't be able to look it up. So that we'll give him the comeback of the week right there. Rolling over, ending the final night of the week on the podium with a second. Benji Lacrosse, good race car driver, hell of a driver, great career. Biggest crash of the week at number 4, Coach Crows. Did you happen to see night 2 limited mods at the Rocket Raceway Park?
I did. I was pretty much watched that. There wasn't a whole lot else going on, but I was watching that place, and you knew it was coming. That place is super, super tight coming out of turn 4, and the front straightaway is really, really narrow. And guys were not giving anybody room in coming down that front stretch. And you knew somebody was going to get stuffed in the wall. And sure enough, someone got stuffed in the wall going into turn 1, and all heck broke loose. So it's just weird how that track races. And then all of a sudden it's just, like I said, it's almost like the new Montevideo. It's so tight coming out of 4. And if you don't lift, a lot of guys just weren't given space, and they weren't given any spaces in the big A mods either, too. So nasty roll. Glad everything was all right. Glad they got her back going, but definitely wrecked some equipment there.
Yeah, we'll see if our boy Brandon can get the clip up here for us. But Bobby Williams and Nick Morgan, I believe, were the 2 drivers. Both of them okay, but a simultaneous 2-car rollover down the front straightaway, and a lot of rollovers there this past weekend. Bert?
And well, the scary thing for me about that crash was when everybody came to a stop, one of the cars was upside down, and with the driver's window facing this way, and the other car's engine was basically right where the driver's window of the other car was. Luckily there was no fire. That was the first thing I noticed right away.
Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, luckily everybody was perfectly okay after that was all said and done. Cars, not so much. Number 3, first time winner of the week. Which one of you guys want to take that one? I guess I'll take that one. Bert pointed at me. Jack Certain from the B to the win. Night number 1 at the Rocket Raceway Park US MTS Modifieds. Guys, rodeo track. Rodeo. And once we got some rain, 3 and 4 was okay. 1 and 2 was old school Superior rough. If you know, you know. It was really rough through the middle. And they had Jason Hughes, who's kind of been on a hot streak. He ended up upside down earlier in that race. A lot of attrition. I know Jake Tim was running second. He exploded a tire. But Jack Certain, his first career win in the USMTS series, doing it from 13th. And Gary Christian also came from the B to get in the runner-up spot. So it's one of those deals. I saw a lot of comments on Facebook from drivers, right? And they're not wrong, because it was rough and it tore shit up and stuff's expensive, right? But as a fan, I don't have to pay for that stuff anymore. Far more exciting racing night one than night two. Yes, way more expensive night one than night two, but it was highly entertaining. Not that I want to see huge ruts, but little moisture, little character goes a long way. Kraus, would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Was that the night? Was he coming for the checkered? Is that the night they threw the yellow and went back green with checkered?
Yes.
I don't. Did the whole field take the white? I mean, he was coming.
I'd say three quarters of the field for sure.
Okay, I don't. What do you know? What the rule is with USMTS?
I don't.
He was coming out of 4. He was in the middle of 3 and 4 for sure. I'm like, this guy's going to get the win, and all of a sudden the yellow come out. 2 guys tangled up over in 1 and 2. So I thought that was pretty odd. And a couple of those late restarts were pretty interesting too, especially with what's his face. I thought he jumped the start on that one. He had that run, the 58. I can't even think of his name right now.
Gary Chris.
There you go. He got a run on the outside and jumped the start, and then Sertain had to go in and he hit that hole, hit that rut, shot up the track, but luckily the yellow came out again. So it'd have been interesting to see if they would have made a call on that jump start to go back. But yeah, it was definitely a fast track, and you had to avoid the holes and you had to do a good job. And for the most part, they did. You could run around it 1 and 2 and you could miss them, but pretty entertaining race.
Absolutely. Number 2, Dan Ebert cashes in and leaves Rocket Raceway Park with the USMTS point lead. Incidentally, Bert, I love you, man, but Minnesota represent, right? 1-2 right now in USMTS points. Dan Ebert, Jake Tim leading the way. But your thoughts, Kraus, your thoughts. You're a super stock guy. So you not only do you you're okay with a little bit of contact, you promote it, right? A little bit of buzz right now. Dan Ebert's been fast, but not maybe making a lot of friends. Your thoughts?
Well, last I checked, you go places, you bring your own friends. You don't go to the track to make friends. And so he's got a little chip on his shoulder. He's got a little, he wants to win. And I mean, is he destroying cars? No. Is he rubbing? Yeah. I mean, who doesn't? I've done it. Ryan, you've done it. I learned from you. That's what I make. That's what I didn't learn from my dad. My dad was pretty clean, so I don't know where he got. But my dad, he had a chip on his shoulder too. He wanted to win, and sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And hey, the guy wants to win, and he can wheel a race car. He knows what's going on. He's well funded. And he wants to win, and I think he's been humbled a little bit the last few years. There's no doubt about it on that series, and he wants to represent. So I got no issues with it. And if you don't like it, it's tough. RTJs, Pierce, those guys. Guess what? They're the fastest guys right now, and they're not afraid. So don't whine, don't complain, don't get on Facebook, don't get on social media. Put your chin strap on. You put your helmet on and go out there and compete. That's all you can do. Don't be a little baby about it. So that's what you have to do. I tell my players that. Put your helmet on, buckle up your chin strap, and go out there and earn it. So I got no issues with it. And if you want to whine and complain, let him whine and complain. But he's winning, and he didn't only win, he killed him. He absolutely destroyed him. There was nobody even close to him. He was driving away from everybody. So good to see. Obviously, knowing Ryan, you know him. I've got to know him, pretty good over the last few years, just because, he ran with Harlan Breescoat in there for a while, and Harlan still builds my engine. So I got to know Dan and Russ, and good group there. And it's just fun seeing him do well, especially at that level. And hopefully he can keep it up.
Bert, let me ask you this. Would you rather watch in late models T-Mac, Davenport, Dennis Erb Jr., or Bobby Pierce, RTJ, and Turbo?
Yeah, probably the second group.
So you have no problem either with a little bit of using people. It's racing. I gotta say, I like it. Now, I'm not saying that he would, but if somebody gets into him, don't be upset about it, right? You just, that's how it is, right? But the fact is, this is all about going to the front. You got to race hard. These are some very good race car drivers in the USMTS.
Well, isn't there a line in the movie Days of Thunder regarding this?
Yeah, it wasn't smashing, bumping, it was rubbing, and rubbing's son is racing, right? Kraus is right. Yeah, that's one thing we said all the time. You ain't here to make friends. We brought our own, right? You're here to win races. My pit guy Changa said all the time, racing ain't fun. Winning is fun. Okay? Racing's work, right? Winning is fun. That's what you do, whatever it takes. Nobody cares if, well, he bumped a guy. Who gives a shit? Did he win? It's all that matters. Okay. So congratulations, Dan Ebert, on having the point lead. You know what's kind of interesting, and I really love points racing, guys. I love it. Jake Tim's not really had a great start to the year. He's had some adversity, right? He had a couple weeks ago, he busted a tie rod on the tire on the bottom. This weekend here, he gets a flat tire running second, but both of those times he was able to go in the pits, make some repairs, get back out on the racetrack, and work his way as far as he could forward. And guys, that's fun to see. There's nothing more exciting to me as a fan when somebody has a little adversity, they got a pit, and there's time left in the race, and how far forward can they make it? Right, the world of sandbagging and Wasota racing with the point averages. Well, I got a flat. I'm just going to pull in. We're going to call it a night. You know, Kraus, what's your most memorable story that you have of when something happened in a heat, whatever, right? Something, or in the feature, something happened in the race where you had to pit, and then you went back out there and you had a really good run. Any good memories?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you bring that point up. I had one. So Shane Rosh and myself, Bert, we hold the fastest tire change in Weetown Outlaw history, Speedway. We were up there racing. So here's the story, Ryan. Viking Speedway gets rained out. Back in my dad's racing. I don't even know what year this was. 90 something. I don't even think I was old enough to get in the pits. I think I just put white pants on and said I was old enough to get in the pits. So we go up to Weetown. It's about hour drive, and we were getting ready for the Budweiser, the big Bud night they have up there. So my dad goes up there. Kevin Dranson, remember we talked about, the kind of told this story before, he cuts my dad's tire down. Well, we pull in the pits. They told us to the pitman he couldn't change tires. Well, now you can change tires. So we ran back to the trailer, plugged in the electric wrench. You didn't have cordless wrenches back there, and we plugged in the electric wrench, changed the tire. Ron Krogh was the announcer. He announced that we had the fastest tire change, and he had it all charted. It was true. And it was about 47 seconds or something like that. My dad went back out there and won. And that's just the way we did it. I had a night in Montevideo. Trevor Nelson cut my left rear tire down. I let him hear about it in the tech shed. And I pull in the pits. We didn't have any tires, and we were running for the points. Dave Stork came by. His son, Corey Stork, drives. Everybody knows Dave Stork. And my guy grabbed a gun, and we threw a right front tire on my left rear, Ryan. We put a 2-inch tire on my left rear. That's not what affordable runs. And I went back out there. I will say it, I intentionally caused a yellow to catch back up to the field. It was my first one. And I ended up getting second. I didn't get back up to the lead, but I ended up getting second. So, but that's what fans want to see. They want to see, and especially at Viking Speedway, our pit road it's right there. It's in front of the fans. Hey, let's we always told my flagman, let's give these guys an extra lap or two. It's not going to kill anybody. Another extra 30 seconds isn't going to, make Johnny and Jackie stay up another 5 minutes later. Okay. But fans want to see the tire change. They want to see, and then they want to watch him go from the back and up to the front. That's what makes racing an exciting. Like you said, point average deal. You've done it. I've done it. You're on the road. You get a flat tire, just pull in the pits, done. You load up and go home. No, pull in the pits, get that thing changed, and hey, put on a show for the fans.
I was freaking broke. I had to get far enough to the front to cover the check I wrote to get in that night. Bert, you got to have some memories. You've been to a lot of races. What's whether it was with MJ or just in general, what's some good memories, or maybe a good memory you have of somebody having an altercation, had to go in the pits, come back out, and storm to the front?
Well, I have two memories. One time MJ was in pretty nasty wreck in the heat race. The front end of the car was all smashed up, a lot of body damage and stuff. And so prior to the feature, we were able to get the car back together. And, but, you know, we couldn't get the hood on decent. So we actually riveted the hood on the car. And I don't remember where he finished in the feature, but he was out there racing. And another one is a good friend of mine. Unfortunately, we lost him to cancer about 6 years ago, but he was racing hobby stocks, and he was in an accident. It was a big wreck. And so he pulled on the pit lane, and his radiator was all smashed up. They changed radiators on pit lane, and they duct taped the radiator into the car because they couldn't get it attached. So they duct taped it in the car, and I believe he won the feature. He came back and won the feature.
Nice. I had an awesome pit crew back in the day. I'm telling you. I had so many. A couple that come to mind. I was in Hibbing one night. There was just a handful of laps left, 5-6 laps, somewhere in there. Super stock feature. I get a flat tire. I go in. I change the tire. I get back out. And in the last corner, Todd Lopak, Sam Skolsky get together. They shove up the track. I drive by them off 4, and I went from last after changing the tire in Hibbing. That was awesome. And then in Hibbing, another one in the modified makeup feature one night, there was a crash. I got drilled in the left rear, broke the left rear lower trailing arm on the rear end. And they hauled me in on the wrecker, right? And I asked my pit guy, I'm like, what's all broke back there? He's like, it looks like just a trailing arm. And I'm like, well, in the top shelf, and I told him where it was, and I already had it together, and it was labeled, left rear lower. Well, by the time they got the cars undone in the front straightaway, they changed my left rear trailing arm, got back out there, drove back up to third, and that won me the track championship in Hibbing. So those memories happen because of adversity and being able to change that tire, change the part, get back out there. I wish more drivers did that. And Kraus, you're so spot on. Being able to see him doing that in the pits was awesome, right? Even tracks like Cedar that they didn't pit in the infield, but they always at the big shows, they had the tire change area down there, and the crowd would be watching the crews bringing everything down. And, that's a big part of the show that, in my opinion, is missing in a lot of areas right now. So hats off to the drivers. That there are some drivers that are going to do what it takes to get back out there. And mad props to those drivers for putting on a show. So our top story of the week brought to you by our friends over at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. Proud sponsors of the #1 series in all of Wissota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. Home of the Galloper chassis, custom fabricating, powder coating, sandblasting. I mean, they service a lot of tracks, sell tires. They do a great job up there in Ashland. Give Chris a call, and that's Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating of Ashland. Kraus, #1 moment of the week.
Yeah, Mr. Donnie Schatz get number 500. Pretty awesome milestone, and I think especially I know for you, Ryan, too, and growing up in this area, he's from here and ran Wissota sprint cars, and I remember seeing him back when he was super, super young at KRA Speedway. He had an open trailer and a truck, and here is Donnie Schatz, and now look at him now. So pretty cool to see him do what he's doing, and hopefully get him propelling a little bit. I know there's been some rumors now. I know if you heard that Stuart Haas is dropping Ford. With the NASCAR deal, sounds like they're not there anymore. So now there's been rumors saying that he may be back in a Chevy in his sprint car. So some stuff going on there, but super excited to see Donnie get his 500th career win. And I think that's going to propel him, and hopefully he'll get some more wins here in the future.
I tell you what, he's hungry, right? I mean, he went a few years without winning a championship, and the blood's in the water. He could be a contender. Gravel's kind of the favorite going in, but could Schatz get it done? I guess we'll see. Bert, we were kind of texting back and forth. I think we were texting back and forth. High limits a couple weeks ago during the redraw portion. They had a fan question for each person that was drawing for the dash. And one of the questions was, what drivers would you put on the Mount Rushmore of sprint car racing? And I think you made the comment that they're all World of Outlaw guys, right?
Yeah.
Donnie Schatz was on everybody's list, without question, right? So one of the best ever strapped in. Congratulations on number 500. So closing thoughts, let's do closing thoughts from this past week, kind of a rapid fire. I'm going to name an event, and you guys we don't need to get into all the results and all that, just first thing or two that comes to mind. But first, a shout out to our sponsor, Kraus.
Oh boy, you got to tell me which sponsor you're talking about. We got so many.
You raced one of their race cars.
Oh, so we're talking about Flat Out Performance and Turbine Chassis. So make sure get a hold of Mr. Jeff Flatten. Ryan Flatten's in the Turbine modified house car this year, and they're still doing super stocks. And they can do Midwest mods. I know they got. I know they're capable of doing some street stocks too. So get a hold of Jeff Flatten from Flat Out Performance and Turbine Chassis down there in Hancock, Minnesota, and they'll be sure to take care of you.
Absolutely. So USMTS race this past weekend, Rocket Raceway Park. Bert, what stuck out?
Well, my question is, should there be a limit as to how much work a track official can do on a car on the track?
There should be a limit. Yeah, I'm not opposed to pulling tin off a tire, something like that. What happened?
Well, it was in Saturday night's feature. Well, the second feature of the week. Wolf, the entire driver's side peeled off the car like you're opening a can, and all that was riveted on basically was the top of the rear quarter. So the track officials were trying to fasten the side of the car back. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it looked like they were actually riveting the side back onto the car. I'm not sure if they were, but that's what it looked like. And I mean, before he took the green, the thing was flapping anyway, but they must have spent at least 5 minutes trying to reattach that side. And I agree with you. I'm not opposed to pulling tin off of tires and that sort of thing. But if you have to start using tools and other things, then okay, go to the pits, to the attention of your pit crew, have them fix it, and then come back out. That's my opinion.
Kraus, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's a safety issue. I mean, I know it's aluminum, I know that stuff, but I don't care what it is, flying at speed, coming into a cockpit, it's going to hurt somebody. And like you said, Bert, his whole side of his car was hanging off. Basically, what they should have done, they should have had his Sawzall cut a couple spring steels or a couple your braces there, and the thing would have came right off instead of trying to put it back on. But he should have been sent to the pits to get that thing fixed. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, you need to pull, pull tire or pull tin off tires and stuff like that. Once you start pulling hoods and stuff like that, you got to get them in the pits, get the show going. Hey, it is what it is. Hey, if you want to stop on the track and pull out some tin, you got to do that. I mean, I remember what they did to Jimmy Randall's car at the Little Dream there a couple years ago, Ryan. Man, they had Sawzalls out there. They cut the front end off. They were duct taping. They basically took that whole body off that car, both sides. And it's like, well, come on now. And then, he's the local hero, and then the favoritism come into play, and the keyboard warriors start coming on. So you got to make sure you got set rules, because a lot of tracks you don't know. You stop down there, pull it. That's something that needs to be said at the pit meeting. Say, hey, here's what our rule is, this and that. Like we went to a couple of years ago at Viking. I said, if you can get your car to pit road under red and it's safe, work on it. I'd work on the car. If you're in a safe condition in the pits under red, work on your car, because we want you back out on the track. I don't want you not being able to work on your car under red. No different than the World Outlaws. Those guys changed their whole suspension went under red and get back out there, and it's cool to see. So they should have probably not quite gone. Went a little too far with Mr. Wolf there.
So any other thoughts there on USMTS, Bert? I'll turn it over to Kraus.
Well, I just wanted, you touched on it before. I was gonna say that Jake Tim has to be feeling pretty good about where he is, considering the issues that he's had. because when he broke the tie rod, I believe he got back up to 5th place in the final rundown. And last week when he had the flat tire, he was in the top 10 in the final rundown. So, even though he's not leading, he's got to be pretty happy with where he is considering everything. And then the other thing was when Ebert won was the Victory Lane interview. The Victory Lane that they had to walk about 100 feet to get onto the track because the microphone wasn't working in the Victory Lane area.
Dude, that's so frustrating, right? Because I've done a little bit of announcing, a little trackside stuff, and some tracks you get to, and you're trying to, it's cutting out, and you can't freaking hear nothing. It's just irritating to everybody, right? And then some tracks you go to, I will say that I-94 Speedway, when I was up there, I did some trackside stuff for Shaw at the King of Dirt a couple years ago. I could literally take the cordless mic and walk all the way around the track, anywhere on the racetrack, and that thing worked awesome. And some tracks have really good stuff, some tracks don't, and I get it, it's a money issue, but yeah, that was frustrating. But they made the most of it, needless to say. Dan's a professional. He found out a way to make that work. So, Coach Kraus.
I'm happy with the parity of the USMTS right now. I mean, there's multiple guys that can win all the time. Chisholm's winning. You got Ebert. Sanders, Ramirez really haven't been up front yet. They're going to be, Mullins, Wolf. I mean, there's a lot of fast guys in that series. It's fun to watch. So that's what I'd like to see is a lot of parity, and it's going to be fun to watch those guys. Jake Tim. It's going to be fun to watch all those guys through the course of the summer.
Parity is a good word. That is for the USMTS. They got a lot of parity. Sanders slumping, right? 25th and a 9th. He's just off to a slow start. Trying to defend that championship. He'll get it together, but not. I figured down in Texas, kind of close to home, that he maybe would have been, starting off pretty hot, but he hasn't. Where's Waldo? Where's Jake O'Neill? Any word? Jake O'Neill was not at either one of the first two. I have not heard one thing what his plans are for the 2024 season. So somebody, if let us know, post in the comments below. Other than that, I think parity's good. A lot of attrition, Sanders slumping, and I would say just Minnesota. Minnesota guys 1-2 right now. Pretty excited about that. So let's jump into the next race here, the Southern All-Stars at Cherokee. We touched on a couple things already. Bert, any quick tidbits from Cherokee?
No, I actually didn't see anything from Cherokee, so I don't have anything to add.
Coach?
Yeah, it was decent race. Track had some character to it. It was pretty fast, and now I've been reading some comments now on Cherokee. I mean, sounds like some of these drivers may not have wanted to wreck their stuff in heat race and just decided we're not going to run heats in the late models. So word going around. So who knows what's going on there? But it's good battle up front. It was the one Ethan Dotson won, correct?
No, this one was Trent Ivy.
Oh, Trent Ivy. Trent Ivy won this one?
Yep.
Yeah. Trent Ivy won this one, and I think everybody was thinking that Madden was going to get it done, but he came through. Track was pretty narrow. It did widen out a little bit. It wasn't a train race. I mean, everybody in our text thread said, "Oh, Cherokee, it's going to train up. It's going to be a rubber fest." It wasn't. I knew right away in hot laps when they kicked the berm up there that there wasn't. That was going to be a decent race. So overall, it was a pretty entertaining race, and put on a good show at Cherokee.
I'm going to go with a couple things here. Dwayne Keith, right? He's kind of. If you haven't heard this guy announce, it's worth watching a Southern All-Stars race. He's got a lot of energy. He's got that WWE vibe. The little head knocker Trent Ivy, right? He's just super fun to listen to, right? At some people he will drive completely insane, but he is passionate and excited. I love it, right? We need that in our sport. Brandon Overton, could his luck get any worse, right? I mean, he's running second in that one, flat tire. He got a flat tire at Waycross, had to come back. He got back up to 9th there. He did change it there. So Brandon Overton should have had 2 podiums, ended up with 2 flat tires instead. But overall, the track was pretty good. Again, water saves lives. Cherokee got water on the track. Maybe Mother Nature helped, but overall the racing was good. Trent Ivy getting it done. Southern Nationals, Schaefer's Southern Nationals at Waycross. That's the one that Ethan Dotson won. Dotson, Gustin, Donald McIntosh, your top three. Incidentally, Donald McIntosh got a second and a third this weekend in those two events. Good weekend for him. Anything stick out to either of you from Waycross?
I just want to say it's good to see Ethan Dotson win some late model races. It's good to see young blood new blood in the division. I've actually interviewed him in the past when he raced at 141 Speedway at the $10,000 to win modified show. So for me, it's always kind of cool to see, a driver advance to the big stage, somebody that I interviewed on his way to that stage.
Absolutely. Bakersfield, California. Now he lives over in North Carolina. So another event that happened this weekend, I watched just a little tidbit on, was they had, so the Toilet Bowl, right? The shittiest race in dirt racing, right, is the Toilet Bowl. Clarksville, Tennessee. They had the Toilet Bowl event last weekend. They're having another Toilet Bowl event this weekend. I actually messaged the track. I'm like, is this a typo, a rain date? It's their 20th anniversary. So back-to-back weekends with Toilet Bowl events. Dennis Erb Jr. got it done, and Lucas Lee in the modifieds. So that we're going to pick that race. We'll talk about that, but that's going to happen this weekend. And then the last one here, Clash at the Coast Series. So there was 4 nights of racing, IMCA mods, IMCA stock cars, 2 nights at the Northwest Florida Speedway in Baker, Florida. That's up in the Panhandle. And then 2 races at the Southern Raceway in Milton, Florida. Bert, what stuck out to you? We talked about Benji Lacrosse. Anything else stick out to you?
Just like I said, I was surprised to see Brian Mullen down there from Wisconsin. Brian is Mike Mullen's dad, and it was good to see him do well down there. Like I said, he was 9th in points for the week entering the final night. I don't know where he finished in the final rundown, but there are some stock car drivers there too. Charneski was down there with the modified and the stock car. I think Kraus had texted during the first race that he went from last to first in one of the B features.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he won a B from deep. He ran pretty decent, but down there. But I don't know if he had any podiums. Coach Kraus, anything stick out to you from down in Florida?
Lots of travelers. There's people are spending the money getting down there. And obviously not from the sounds of it, obviously not a whole lot of IMCA cars down there, but good to see guys get down there and traveling. From the sounds of it, that first place is in the middle of nowhere. Our boy Brandon was down there doing production for IMCA. So if anybody is watching that, got any complaints, which there wasn't because he did a very good job. Elevate Dash Visual, Brandon was down there doing production for IMCA. So he said it was in the middle of nowhere. Track didn't have any internet. They were running off Starlink. And luckily they got everything going. So just interesting. It's cool hearing those stories, the inside things, not just the cars going on the track and going around, getting some insight of what's going around. So it's kind of cool. But overall, I thought very solid racing all around. And guys, they were competing. Track was a little rough those first couple nights, but they didn't seem to bother. And guys were getting after it. And I thought for the most part put on a good show.
Yeah, the best race was a stock car race the first night. Gage Neal won from 17th. So that was a hell of a run right there. Jeff Bone Larson won the points for the mods. Dallin Murdy won the points for the stock cars. Here's what stuck out to me. Cars were there from 17 states and 2 provinces. I'm just going to say it, right? Wissota, we love Wissota, right? That will never happen in Wissota because they're a tight little, they haven't grown. 17 states and 2 provinces represented down there, and they had huge car counts down in Florida, and the first IMCA stock car races ever held in the state of Florida. So pretty cool deal to check out. 2024 weekly pick'ems, and you mentioned them already, but give them another shout out here. Who's our sponsor of our pick'em segment there, Coach Kraus?
Yes, elevatevisual.com. Video production. Make sure if you need any video production, any drone work done, if you're a real estate agent, if you need do a drone flyover, make sure you get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. He's got a Facebook page. He's got a website. Does awesome job. He's got many videos up there you can check out. So make sure you get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com.
So I'm looking at this, Coach Krause. You got 0 points here over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been it's been some rainouts and bad luck and just
hold on.
Sometimes the way it goes.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out where to put them excuses. Not really sure where they go. New Dan also, right? So we're talking here. The One to Go show. Me and Bert, we got points. I don't know if we're going to claim you anymore. You and New Dan, no points for you guys. I'm not really sure what to think about that. My boy Changa, no points either. But Kent, +4 over the last 2 weeks here. Big Bad Brad also +4. Bert and myself +2. Dan and Curtis there +1. So current standings right now, Curtis is at 62, 4 points ahead of Big Bad Brad. Chonga's at 54. I'm at 48, 1 point ahead of the 29 star. Bert and Dan at 45. Kent at 43. Good Jeff at 38. New Dan at 35. And Mike at 24. Mike has some work to be done. So a look ahead to the week, to the events that we're picking this week. First, a shout out Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So, guys, I was down there. So modified tires down in Arizona, IMCA modified tires. If you buy them kind of Minnesota area, Speedway motors, they're 150-ish, about the same cost of a Wasota tire. Kraus, do you have it? So if you're going to pay $150 to $155 for a IMCA tire in our area, what do you suppose they paid for it at the tire truck down there?
Well, I know you would assume it'd be the same or within a few bucks.
It was almost $180. Now, they said part of that is shipping because it's in the middle of nowhere. It's all the way down in Arizona. So they figured that was maybe part of it. But, oh, my God, right? $600 to win, $300 for a second, $200 for third, $150 for fourth, $100 for fifth. And tires cost $180 a pop. Unbelievable, okay? Where I'm going with this is if you're that driver out there on a budget and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I am absolutely a hobby racer. I'm not going to contribute to the money grab we call Hoosier. Not doing it, right? Not doing it. There are alternatives. I would be doing everything I can. If I'm not a points racer or whatever, I'd be doing everything I can to try to figure out a way to make my tires last longer. Well, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants has a way. You're going to want to call Chad, 507-828-3536. Give Chad a call. Learn about Aqua and the great products they have to help you get more life out of your tires so you don't have to contribute more and more of your dollar to Hoosier Racing Tire. So with that said, that's Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. This week, we're going to pick a pair of World of Outlaw sprint car events at Kennedale, Texas. That's Friday and Saturday. I don't think they've been to that place in a long time. I looked for results to try to figure out who did what, so kind of a trip back. We are going to pick the Toilet Bowl. We're going to pick the late models and the modifieds Friday and Saturday night. Dennis Erb Jr. won and Lucas Lee won this weekend. 20th anniversary. We'll see what happens there. That's on Pit Row TV. We're not going to pick this one, but if you're a late model fan, you're looking for a little late model racing, jump onto Flow. The Comp Cam's late models are going to be at Boot Hill in Greenwood, Louisiana, Friday, Saturday. The Smooth Operator, Bobby Pierce, going to be in the house. I would say it's going to be kind of a head-to-head deal with him and the Thriller Cade Dillard. And we were going to pick the USMTS race, but that got moved a week out because of weather. So let's get into our last segment of the week here, boys. 3 bold predictions. Bert, sometimes not so bold, but that's okay. We still love you. Dirt Track Supply, the proud sponsor of this segment. Great group of guys. I tell you what, Ron and Trevor Anderson over in Watertown, South Dakota, they run Dirt Track Supply, home of the Aero chassis. They can do anything, right? They get you parts, safety equipment, racing suits. They service a lot of racetracks. You can get tires from them. Whatever you need, they have it. If you need fabricating done, body work done, you just need help in racing. Those are two good ambassadors to the sport right there. That's Ron and Trevor Anderson, Dirt Track Supply in Watertown, South Dakota. So let's start with our accountability session here off the board. So Bert, we'll start with you. A couple weeks back, Golden Isles, you said RTJ would be on the podium every night that they raced, which was 2 features. Yeah, no, that did not happen. You said that Jake Tim would win at least one at the Hunt County Speedway. That did not happen either. And you said that Brad Sweet would go winless at Golden Isles, and that did happen. So ding, 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 one on the board for Bert. Good Jeff, he said Jake Tim would have at least one win and a podium and a points lead leaving Hunt County. That did not happen. But Good Jeff did say RTJ is going to DNF at least one of the nights at Golden Isles. Yeah, his fun meter's pegged on the Southeast because he definitely got that. So that he got that correct. Coach Kraus. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. RTJ sweeps Golden Isles. No. Rico sweeps Golden Isles. No. Sanders sweeps Hunt County. No. You're a jinx. That's what you are. You're a jinx. We're going to call you the jinx. So the peanut gallery here, Kent sent in his first one. He said Brandon Shepard, no podiums at Golden Isles. He did have a podium at Golden Isles, so he was incorrect. And Dan said Hunt County was going to have first-time winners both nights in the USMTS. That did not happen. The first-time winner came a week later, but Ebert was a previous winner, so that would have only been one anyway. Then he said that Sweet, Larson, and Rico would account for exactly 50% of the podium finishes at Golden Isles. That did not happen. And I had one come off the board, too. Apparently, I'm a jinx, too, Kraus, because I said J.D. Sanders and Sweet would each win at least one this couple weeks back. None of them got a win that weekend. So our current standings right now, so as far as the correct guesses category goes, Bert Lehman, you're leading the way. You're at 8. Me and Coach Kraus, the 71A and 29 star, tied at 6. Good Jeff at 5 and the peanut gallery at 3. As far as correct percentage, right? The peanut gallery, 37.5. So their percentage is the highest. And in second, I'm second at 30%. Good Jeff at 29.4. Coach Kraus at 27.3. And Bert, you're at 26.7. So you got more correct, but you got way more incorrect. So you've been picking a lot of short-term stuff. You got some work to do in that category. So we're going to make 3 laps around the track here. I got a couple from the peanut gallery here, and we got Good Jeff. So we're going to start with Bert. We'll go to Coach Kraus, and then I will say the ones for Good Jeff, for Kenny, and then myself. So Bert, lap number 1, what do you got?
All right. We talked about Brad Sweet earlier in the program about him not winning the World of Outlaw Championship. Not only will he not win the World of Outlaw Championship, he will not win the High Limit Championship either.
Mm-hmm. No title for the big cat, Brad Sweet. Coach Kraus.
Yeah, I'm going to skip a couple weeks here. We're going to head out. I had it down. We're going to head out to Humboldt, King America race. There is going to be, looked at the last few years, they're going to have 80 modifieds at Humboldt. That's going to be my prediction. They had 66 or so right in there. So I'm going to make it pretty bold. We've been putting peer pressure on Bert, and his bold picks are getting bolder. So I appreciate it, Bert. So 80 cars at Humboldt.
All right. 80 USMTS modified entries at Humboldt. Okay. All right. Kenny, he said this. At Humboldt, there's 3 events, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the USMTS mods. 2 of those wins for the USMTS mods will be by drivers that are chasing after the USMTS national title. So two of those wins, exactly two, will be USMTS points racers. So Good Jeff is going to go with a points deal, and he's going to go World of Outlaw Sprint Cars here. David Gravel will not be your champion in 2024. Then I got one here from hashtag not a Kraus fan. You make friends, man. You got some friends.
That doesn't narrow it down.
All right, I'm going to read this. I didn't send this to you because I wanted to save this for the show. Hashtag not a Kraus fan says this. I'm thinking this Dan guy is smoking crack. Over and under should be at 1. Kraus going to win 5 features? Not happening. Over and under should be at 1, and I'm taking the under. So he's saying you're going to have a winless 2024, and I'm going to say that he won't even have 5 podiums in 2024. Do you have a response to this madness?
I like it, man. It's what these shows are all about. They're having some fun. Hey, it's entertainment. It's going to give me a little bug to maybe get racing out more and maybe find some tracks that only got 3-4 cars and maybe DNF and make a podium.
There you go. Nice. That's a horseshit attitude, by the way. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. So I'm going to take my first one here. Little bit of buzz in the WISSOTA Modified division with the new engine program. They made some changes between the spec engine, the concept, putting the aluminum heads on the spec engine. Sounds like big horsepower gains, a lot lighter with the light blocks. Some people are pretty nervous about the advantage that these spec engines are going to have with the aluminum heads. My prediction is this. WISSOTA will adjust and revise the modified engine rule package before July 15th. So there will be a press release saying that they're going to make, whether they're adding more weight to the front, whatever it's going to be, there's going to be an adjustment on this particular part of the engine package before July 15th. All right, Bert, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to Humboldt USMTS when they make this up. Of those 3 features, Minnesota drivers will be on the podium in at least 4. No, hold it. We'll have at least 4 podium finishes between the 3 features.
Well, there's going to be 6 between Ebert and Tim, so you'll probably get that one right. That's pretty, like Kraus said, if there's 80 modifieds with all the parity, that's a tough task, but they can get it done. All right. So at least 4 podiums for Minnesota drivers out of all the opportunities, which would be 9 over that weekend. Coach Kraus, lap number 2.
We're gonna go World Outlaw Sprint Cars. No high limit drivers on the podium either night this weekend coming up. So high limit guys are getting skunked. They can go back to their own series. And you're going to get skunked this weekend. No podiums. I'm not talking wins, Bert. We're talking they're not even going to be on the podium either night.
Okay. Kenny says this, World of Outlaw Sprints at Kennedale. The winner will win both. So whoever wins is going to win both nights. So double up for the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Good Jeff. He said this, the smooth operator Bobby Pierce will not repeat as World of Outlaw champion in 2024. Bobby Pierce will not repeat. My second one here, I don't know if you saw the news, little YouTube video here from the Hunt the Front boys. Joseph Joyner going to be in a 28 special in the 604 crate. Joseph Joyner will have at least 2 wins in the 604 crate before the end of the season in the 28 special from Jeff Provenzino. Bert, last lap. What do you got?
World of Outlaws sprints. Carson Macedo will win at least one feature this weekend.
Off the record, did you pick him?
Yeah, I actually have to turn in my picks yet, but yes, I will pick them.
Too late, they don't count. I shouldn't tell you, but I picked him too. I wanted to go opposite of gravel here. So I'm sure Kraus picked gravel. You didn't? Who'd you pick? Shots?
I haven't turned them in yet.
Oh, you haven't either? All right, we're all
No.
slacking. I didn't turn
No,
mine
they
in.
just updated ones just got sent out. I'm not going to turn them in. Right now, there's no race until later in the week.
Fair enough. All right, so Carson Macedo will win at least one this weekend. That's Bert's pick. Last lap here, Kraus. What do you got?
We're going back to World of Outlaws, and we're going to go. We got to do a parlay here because can't get him one. So Donnie Schatz is going to get a win and a podium this weekend in the two events. So he's going to get one win and it has to be on the podium this weekend. Is my last one.
So obviously a win is a podium. So
Yep.
Both nights will be on the podium.
Basically both nights, but one has to be a win.
Okay. Kenny gonna go USMTS this week in the big, or not this week, but next week. The King of America A-Main. What is it, 10 grand or 12 grand to win for the big show? At least three different, because of all the parity, at least three different chassis in the top 5 at the King of America. Good Jeff said, the smooth operator Bobby Pierce going to go cherry picking this weekend, but is going to leave without winning a single feature at Boot Hill. Talk about smoking crack. I think he might be smoking some ganja. All right. So I got one final pick here. And I got a soda option. I got a late model option. I'm going to go a little bit bolder. I was going to take a Pierce is going to win everything at Boot Hill, but I just think he's going to beat Dillard, and that's probably all he's got to beat. So I'm going to say this. Deer Creek Speedway is literally the last track in southern Minnesota to even have a single WISSOTA class. They have WISSOTA Midwest mods. Mississippi Thunder and Decorah have added Econo mods to their card. If that class takes off, Deer Creek's going to pick them up. Deer Creek Speedway will not have any WISSOTA classes in 2025. No more WISSOTA in southern Minnesota in 2025. That's my third and final. Kind of a depressing way to end it. I hope I'm wrong, but I just see it kind of heading that direction. So any closing thoughts there? Fans, I will say this. Jump on. I'm sure you guys saw this. Bert, I could use your help on this. Jump onto our Facebook page. I've been posting pictures. Starting with all the zeros and posted a bunch of ones, and I'm going to kind of roll all the way through my whole picture album. Bert, I know there's some Eastern Wisconsin late models I posted in there. So I saw post their names. There's a few I don't know their names.
I saw the Scheffler late models in one of the pictures.
Yeah. So go on there and post their names.
Okay.
On there if you could, because there's a few of them. I was like 10 years old maybe when I got them. So I hope everybody enjoys that. But any closing thoughts before we call her a night?
Well, I just need to wish the Bondwell Bears boys high school basketball team good luck this coming weekend. Nick Avelink's son plays on the team. They're 2 games away from making state. So we'll see how they do this weekend in sectionals. So good luck to them this weekend.
I know Kraus, Viking Speedway, Alexandria, Minnesota, they're heading to the dance this weekend. State hockey tournaments. Any predictions, Kraus? Who's going to win A and AA in Minnesota State high school hockey tournaments?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. It's that week. If you're a hockey fan in Minnesota, it's the biggest high school event in the whole country. The Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. Yes, the Alexandria Cardinals are going again. They just got escorted out of town here today, so I got to watch that. And gave them all my advice, gave them some inside tips, but they're going to have a tough battle with Hermantown. So I did my brackets today. We did a little, so to speak, office bracket. So I took Chanhassen in the AA tourney. Of course, they upset Minnetonka to get there. AA is wide open. I'm telling you that, folks. Telling you that right now. It's going to be a great tournament, and it's wide open. There's 8 teams that could do it. So a lot of big shooters are out, and then unfortunately, I can't say it. I can't say who I picked in the Class A bracket because I'll get in trouble. So I just got to say good luck to the Alexandria Cardinals and 6:00 primetime game, and hopefully they can get it done against your favorite team, the Hermantown Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, incidentally, you must have your hometown losing to the Hermantown Hawks in round 1, but I'm telling, as long as it's the northern team, it's all I care, right? I mean, I want to see a northern team win. I don't want to see the city's teams wins. It just is what it is. This is a time of year where the northern towns hate the cities hate the northern towns, and everybody hates Edina, right? That just is what it is. So enjoy the hockey tournaments, enjoy the racing, enjoy the pictures on the show. Post any comments, send us some feedback, send us any questions. If you have some bold predictions, send them our way. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.